Are you having nighttime anxiety? Is it hard for you to go to bed at night because your anxiety is so revved up? You're not alone. We're going to talk all about it. Stay tuned. That's what's up next. Hi, my name is Natasha Daniels. I'm a therapist and I make videos for people with anxiety and OCD. And today I want to talk to you about nighttime anxiety. Do you get anxious when you're getting ready for bed? This is a really common anxiety issue for so many people with anxiety and OCD. It's something I've struggled with my entire life. I remember being 5, 6, 10, 12, 16, 17, 50, 51, and worried at night about my safety. And I think it's different for each person what keeps them up at night. So some of you might be anxious because you don't feel safe. You might worry about noises that you hear. Some people just have racing thoughts about other anxiety themes, worrying about their next day or the day they just had. It's different for each one of us, but what is the same is that nighttime is a big struggle. And there's a reason for that. First of all, it's super quiet. There's no distraction. It's like a full stage for your anxiety or OCD. There's a mic, and anxiety or OCD just gets right up to it. It's like, is the mic on? I got full attention. And so that is the first problem, is that some of us actually keep our brains busy on purpose because we don't want to hear those upsetting or anxious thoughts. And even if you don't do that on purpose, just the nature of like your day is so busy that it doesn't get front stage as much as it does at nighttime. So that's the first issue. The second issue is it's super quiet. And for a lot of us, especially those of us that worry about safety issues, you become really sensitive to every sound in your house. Is that you? That's me. I'm like hyper focused on, what was that sound? Was that the refrigerator or was that a door opening? I just get freaked out. And when you're focusing on sounds, your body is like, oh, they really want to hear things. Let's magnify that. And so a lot of times during the day, we're distracted and we're not honing in on sounds. But when you tell your brain, this is an emergency and I need to listen for every little creak and unusual sound, the volume in your brain goes up because it hyperfixates on that. So that becomes an issue too. So what do you do about all these things? Well, it's really hard to go to bed when you are in fight, flight, or freeze mode. So when you've already sent a message to your brain that you are not safe and that what is happening is a potential disaster, that you're like on the cusp of something really bad happening, because that's how it can feel in your body, then you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. Even if you're just reviewing your day and worried about what you said, or you're reviewing what's going to come the next day, you can put yourself in fight, flight, or freeze because your body is starting to feel like, oh, we're panicking. Let me send all these chemicals because we're having an emergency. And so instead of calming me down, I'm having more cortisol and adrenaline pumping through my body, which will keep me up. Very hard to go to sleep when my body thinks there's an emergency. So the first thing that we have to do is recognize that stage, that quiet stage for our anxiety or OCD is not helpful. So how do you add a little bit more calming noise to that stage so that anxiety and OCD have to compete for something else? And that'll be different for each one of you. I know for me, I like to purposely think of certain things. I go to bed and I have a playlist in my head of, this is what we're going to think about. I don't just sit there passively and let my brain take over, because that's never good. But what I do is say to myself, what do I want to think about before I go to bed? And my brain will kind of go back to maybe something that it's wanting to get stuck on, and then I'll kind of gently bring it back to what I want to think about. That tends to calm me down. I also like white noise in my room because I don't want to hear every normal sound that's happening in my house that feels abnormal when it is bedtime. And so you can do this in many different ways if you're sensitive to noise. Have a white sound machine or an app that has like a white sound machine. You can play calming music throughout the night or just getting you to go to bed. Some people like to listen to sleep meditations or sleep stories. I also have used brainwaves. My son, who's 15, he uses brainwaves, which is an app. I mean, brainwaves is just a generic thing, but you can get them on apps where it's just brain waves that kind of sync with your brain to calm you down. And then there's music on top of it. And that can be really, really helpful as well. You can get sleep headbands. Have you seen those? Where it's like a headband that goes around your head that's soft, but it can have Bluetooth. And so it can sync with a phone or an iPad or a computer. And so you can be playing those things without having something clunky in your ears, or like AirPods or headphones that hurt. So that could be a really helpful thing as well. The goal and why I'm highlighting this is because you want to take away the microphone for anxiety and OCD. You want that stage to be a little bit busier so that OCD and anxiety have to kind of elbow their way in. They still will. But now I have something to refocus my attention. So when anxiety or OCD tries to take the mic, I say, nope, I'm listening to my brain waves. Or nope, I'm listening to my thoughts that I have decided I'm going to listen to. Or I also talk about creating a world in your head, a calming world that you just go to, a visual world that you go to when you're trying to go to sleep. So you have something to compete with when anxiety and OCD wants to get your attention. So I'm like, nope, I'm back on the beach with my rainbow fish. That's my world. Your world might look totally different, but that can be really helpful as well, because now I have something that I always go to when I'm trying to calm down. It doesn't mean there'll be a little bit of a tug of war. There will be, but now I have something that I'm anchoring myself with and I'm refocusing my attention on. That could be really important. The other thing is, ask yourself, what are some things that are making this more anxiety producing for me? And so if I'm reviewing the day, maybe I process that earlier before I go to bed. And then every time my brain wants to go to that when I go to sleep, I gently, and I say gently because if you start to get in a tug of war with your thoughts, it's actually going to make things worse. But if I don't get angry with myself for having these thoughts, but I gently say, nope, we're in the world right now. Or nope, we're listening to this meditation right now. There's no expectation for me to go to sleep, because when you have that expectation, sometimes that makes it worse. But I'm just focusing on this sleep story or this meditation. I don't necessarily recommend audiobooks or reading. You can read before you go to sleep, but obviously your eyes need to be closed in order for you to go to sleep. And audiobooks, if you're trying to listen to a book while you're going to sleep, that actually activates the brain for most people. And so that may not be the best thing. But stories that are purposely sleep stories, things that you can get on like the Calm app, or there's lots of meditation apps nowadays that you can find something that will help purposely calm you down and go to sleep. But you also want to get rid of the things that are making you anxious. So like I said before, sounds can make me anxious. So I have noises in my room that help. The dark actually makes me anxious. I like to see things coming. I don't want to be surprised. And my anxiety says, if it's dark, you don't know what's in your room. And that overwhelms me. And I'm in my 50s and it still overwhelms me. That's okay. I don't have to get used to that. I can just put on a light. Like, why am I going to struggle when if I put a little small light in my room, not a huge one, just like a little night light that kind of illuminates the room, now I can see everything. And when I close my eyes and I open them and it's not pitch black, that's comforting to me. What's comforting to you? What kind of ambiance light do you need in your room that maybe will be more soothing for you? Also, some people like their doors closed. Some people like their doors open. I like my door closed. I want to feel cocooned and safe in my room. I want to be able to see in my room. I don't want to be able to hear too much outside of my room. Those are my requirements for me to be able to calm down and go to sleep. But what are yours? They're going to be different for each person. Let me know in the comments what things you do to help with your nighttime anxiety. And don't forget to subscribe, because I'll be talking all about anxiety and OCD every single week on Thursdays. And please find the sparkle in everything you do. Take care.